No, I also did not see anything special about Ralph Lauren. He has a $600 million car collection because everybody bought into this. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. All the fancy fashion guys that are super stylish all say I owe everything to Ralph Lauren. Why? I don't buy it. I don't see it at all. It really didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. This guy that made this is the quintessential American designer, the guy that changed fashion in America forever. I think everybody just got on the bandwagon. Or that's what I previously thought, and that is not true. He really is one of the coolest guys on the planet, and that really affects his clothing and how he taught other people to dress. Before researching this video, I don't feel like I dressed as well as I do now. It unlocked a lot of secrets, but we have to start with his bio, because it's insane. Ralph Lauren was born in 1947 in France. Ralph Lauren came to America when he was 5 years old, where he worked on a ranch in Colorado for 20 years. With his savings, he purchased that ranch, bought a Shop Perfecto jacket and a motorcycle, rode to New York, where he had a short but steady, powerful career as one of Wall Street's top bankers before retiring completely to the Hamptons, raising a family, becoming a semi-professional skier, a part-time mechanic to his fleet of cars that he bought while on Wall Street, and it was only then that he started a clothing brand, which was simply all of the clothes he picked up on that crazy journey of his life, and he made them in different sizes.
Well, this shirt I bought at Kmart. This is living proof of what I believe in. I love the aging of it, I love the rips, I love it all.
But at the same time, I had a second question. Who is Ralph Lauren? Because I made all of that up. None of that is true. It's Lauren. Ralph Lauren was born in the Bronx, and his real name, or his first name, was Ralph Lifshitz, and then he changed it to Lauren because he was made fun of a lot. And he worked at Brooks Brothers starting off, and then became the worst Brooks Brothers employee of all time, and started his fashion career. A lot of that stuff about Ralph Lauren really is true, though. He does have a $600 million car collection. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and his son did marry Lauren Bush, and her last name is now Lauren. So she's Lauren Bush Lauren. And Ralph Lauren has a women's clothing line called Lauren by Ralph Lauren. And if she wears that, that would be Lauren Bush Lauren wearing Lauren by Ralph Lauren. So his life does seem pretty fantastical, because it certainly is. But the true question is, who the heck is Ralph? Because of all these pictures, he does none of that. But it really looks like he does. And that is the crux of this video. That is what I found out. The magic behind Mr. Ralph Lauren. And yeah, the beginning of the video, not a lie. I really did not buy into any of this, and now my eyes are completely opened. So I'm doing an experiment on you right now. If you notice it, please don't say anything, but just think it in your head. I noticed what he's doing, because it's an experiment. So let's see if it works. This video is sponsored by Huckberry. Look at that. Their ultimate off-duty short. Huckberry said I could talk about anything on their site, and I said I'd like to talk about Nick. And everybody on the call was like, Nick Kemp, the guy on the call right now, you want to talk about him? And I was like, yep. Nick Kemp is on the site. Personally, I think it would be nice to talk about how Nick did 3 tiers of denim as the director of design at Huckberry, starting at the entry point with the stretch selvage denim offering. I think the fit is good for people getting into denim, and those people probably like stretch, and they're getting selvage for the first time. That's smart. I also really appreciate that Nick knows not everybody's into very stretchy pants, and they like 100% cotton offerings, and Nick took care of us. And since Nick himself is a massive denim nerd with 10 sewing machines in his garage, he has some hookups, and he sourced dead stock first quality Cone Mills 1968 selvage denim in the form of the American Reserve collection. There's also the Japanese Reserve collection. Both of these pieces don't fit me, they're just lended to me from Huckberry, but still they're very cool. That Cone Mills denim is why Nick is so important. You have to have connections, you have to know people, and you have to have 10 sewing machines in your garage in order to find first quality Cone Mills 1968 selvage denim in El Paso when it's basically gone from the planet. So thank you very much, Nick. You are the best. There he goes. This is probably my favorite story from the entire video, and it just shows you how much of a monster Ralph Lauren is at marketing and getting people to wear his clothes. There's this big American clothing brand that everybody knows, Brooks Brothers. They had a 150-year kind of dominant reign as America's clothing brand. They outfitted the Rough Riders, the Union Army, almost all US presidents, and Gatsby, even though Gatsby's not real. But what's crazy is a little kid from the Bronx works at Brooks Brothers for a little bit, sees their shtick, and is like, oh, I have a better idea. And he introduces this, a polo player, both the logo and the name. And that was my first big question. Why polo? Did he play the sport? No, he didn't play the sport. Polo is for rich people. You need an entire fleet of horses. You need a field. You need time to learn how to be on a horse. But to Ralph Lauren, that was the entire point. In an interview, he said,
we talked about baseball, football, what would be great? Rugby, polo, what did it represent? It represented a style and a life and an elegance.
Polo is rich, it's aspirational. It's a whole different world that when you see it, you think, this must be a very, very fancy brand. It's still so effective today that people don't think it's Ralph Lauren because that sounds too American and too basic. It has to be Lauren. But anyways, Ralph Lauren started off making ties that sold very well, but this is probably what you think of when you think of Ralph Lauren, and for good reason, because he redefined what this is called. This is not a polo shirt. Obviously, it is now a polo shirt, and yes, polo players do wear polo shirts, and they did before Ralph Lauren, but the polo shirt that we recognize today is popularly thought to be invented by René Lacoste, aka the brand Lacoste. René Lacoste was essentially like, well, these button-ups that everybody's wearing are not that good to play tennis in, so I want a high-twist cotton mesh knit that I can move around in and have an advantage on the court. But everybody was looking at the tennis shirt as an athletic piece of gear. So when synthetic fabrics came out, they switched it over to synthetic and were like, boom, it's even better. But not Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren was like, wait, you guys are major miss here, guys. This high twist cotton ages beautifully over time and it feels nice and it's natural. This is really what you gotta keep selling. So he sold it, and he also said, guys, stop selling it in just like country club white. Do it in a whole list of rainbows and make it romantic and give it the tagline, wears or gets better with age. People will eat it up. And they freaking did. Look at that, nice blurry shot for you. What do you think of that? And Ralph Lauren was so correct that people wanted to buy the story and feel high class and luxury and whatever, that now Lacoste calls their own shirt, the tennis shirt, which they did name it like L1231015, which is not the best name ever. They call it on their website a polo shirt. But what's even more insane is that neither of those are a polo shirt. This is technically the polo shirt. Part of the reason Brooks Brothers became so successful is because the founder was in England and he saw that polo players added buttons to their collars so they didn't flap and hit them in the face, and he said, that's a great idea. We'll just do that standard on our shirts in America. That is by definition the polo shirt. And guess who worked at Brooks Brothers before he started Ralph Lauren? Ralph Lauren. So if you work at Brooks Brothers and you think, man, I really suck at my job, they must hate me. Look on the bright side. You could have kind of sort of taken the main flagship thing from the brand that you used to work at and started your own $22 billion empire and had a $600 million car collection, but you didn't. So that's pretty cool. And that's kind of the modern shopping style. Ralph Lauren proved that, like, yeah, you can make a good shirt, but if you don't market it well and say it's luxurious, it has this story behind it, here's why it's not just a shirt, here's why you need it, that's gonna dominate. Doesn't matter if you're a 150, 200-year-old brand, not as cool as the story Ralph Lauren was gonna tell. It's much hotter than I thought today. Bit warm outside, isn't it? Ralph Lauren took that philosophy and said, okay, I myself need to become the polo shirt. That'll work. And it did. And the reason I'm saying that is because of this interview with Charlie Rose, where Ralph Lauren says a very telling quote, not about himself, but about someone else, Cary Grant. I really did have a very up and down thought on Ralph Lauren in general, because while researching this video, I watched a lot of his documentaries, and I thought, is this what is this?
And I never thought about money. I didn't have any, and I didn't think about it.
I kept having these moments while I was watching the documentary and looking at pictures of Ralph Lauren, and I was like, oh, that guy is so cool. But then I was like, but what? That's not him. I know that guy just flew on his private jet from his multi-million-dollar penthouse, probably polished up his $600 million car collection, then landed at his 17,000-acre ranch, and just... Did he walk around? What do the cowboys that he hired that do what it looks like he does say? And I was just like, it's just this weird costume. And I thought that until I saw Ralph Lauren's interview with Charlie Rose. And I said, oh, no, never mind. This really is the coolest guy on the face of the planet. I totally fell into his magic spell. He's dressed so cool. He's like, Charlie, you'll be cool. Your lapels are fine, not a big deal.
I look at the suit, one man to another, and I see a wide lapel.
Well, you know, this is second time around, really. This got narrow and then it got wider again.
Yeah.
But your lapels are okay.
I was like, wow, you're a Ralph Lauren. But then after a while, I was like, wait a minute, how on earth is this guy that cool? It's basically impossible. Charlie Rose would be like, Ralph Lauren, how did you start a fashion empire and have time for your family?
I always, somehow, in my family, I always spent time with my kids. I think I was able to step away from myself and see life.
Ralph Lauren, how did you think of all these crazy things? Like, what was going on inside your head? And Ralph Lauren would be like,
I never thought about style. I didn't know what that word meant.
I just acted on my first natural instinct, and that's, I was having dinner with Audrey Hepburn, and I was like, what are you talking? Every single answer that Ralph Lauren gave was luxurious, nostalgic, aspirational. It was a polo shirt, and I was like, there it is. This is all the same thing. I want to buy the polo shirt. I want to hang out with you.
I've gotten to know Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant, and they became my friends. Cary Grant came to my house for lunch.
But there was one moment where Ralph Lauren quoted something. And if you want to learn about someone, figure out what they're quoting. Ralph Lauren quoted Cary Grant. Cary Grant, the man, was asked how he managed to live up to his larger-than-life image. He replied, and this is the part that Ralph quoted, "We all wish we were Cary Grant. Sometimes I wish I was Cary Grant."
I'd like to be Cary Grant. He said, I wish I was Cary Grant.
Cary Grant changed his name from Archibald Alec Leach, and he grew up in England and apparently just had an absolutely terrible childhood. But he got out of everything because he joined a group of acrobatic dancers and learned how to walk on stilts. When he came to America, he became Cary Grant. He changed everything about himself, how he walked, how he talked. Cary Grant was not Archibald Alec Leach. Somebody asked Cary Grant, how did you become Cary Grant from Archibald Alec Leach? And he said, I pretended to be a somebody I wanted to be until finally I became that person, or he became me. They didn't talk about that in the Ralph Lauren interview. They just talked about the I wish I was Cary Grant, even though I am Cary Grant part. But shortly after that, Charlie Rose says, here's a montage of Ralph Lauren's life. And they show it, and when they cut back to Ralph Lauren, he laughs and says,
That's Ralph Lauren, I wish I were him.
You probably said that.
I figured it out. And what clicked was this little bad boy right here, the Ralph Lauren iconic flag sweater. Ralph Lauren donated $10 million to help restore the Great Garrison flag, aka the Star-Spangled Banner, the flag that inspired the national anthem. Ralph Lauren loves America a lot, and it's not just putting stars and stripes all over his clothes, it goes way, way deeper than that. And if I had the sweater in my hand, I would say, and it starts here with the iconic flag sweater, which was released in 1989. And if you're a history nerd, you probably just turned to someone and said, 1989, what happened in 1989? The Berlin Wall fell. The Berlin Wall falls, the Soviet Union collapses, and that is literally, by some people, because of a book, called The End of History. Because people were like, all right, well, America won, so I guess we're done. Everybody's going to do it that way. Most powerful nation in the world. And that moment was like a giant pressure release valve. America was super, generally, not everybody, super optimistic, triumphant, happy, and finally just relieved. The 90s to really 2001 are considered to be some of the most optimistic times in American history. A lot of people felt very prosperous. They felt like they had a lot of upward momentum, and they could finally just say like, oh my gosh, okay, so now that I'm not worried about that, what the heck am I gonna be? Maybe I wanna dress like a cowboy. Or maybe I saw this great movie where this guy wore this beautiful velvet dinner jacket. I'm gonna wear that. Or I'm gonna be a Wall Street banker. So you're hanging in the 90s and you're like, well, this is kind of awesome. I just bought a house. I'm feeling really good. And like, I don't know, what should I do to the house? Who comes along? Martha Stewart. She's like, don't just do like an old Betty Crocker thing. Set the table, make it beautiful, make it brilliant, and you can be this gardener woman that does this stuff for fun. It's not a chore anymore. The whole world is different, and people eat that up.
We're having a picnic this afternoon, and my friends have asked me to bring the sandwiches.
A lot of people that know Ralph Lauren describe him as a guy who left the Bronx through sheer force of imagination. He did the Cary Grant thing 15 times over and became not just Ralph Lauren, but Ralph Lauren the mechanic, the Wall Street banker, the skier, the car collector, the billionaire. Anything you could imagine, Ralph Lauren made himself into that. He was every man and he was every type of cool that could possibly exist. But his specific talent was being able to make you believe he was actually everything he was saying he was. But when the cameras stop, is that actually going on, or is that just part of the polo shirt?
If you're on your farm now and you're getting dressed, you sort of feel like a farmer.
You bet.
You want to wear your farm clothes.
Right.
You wear your farm, what you think are the farm clothes that your dad wore, or what you thought the farmer was.
Right.
Make you feel good. Make you feel like a real farmer.
You bet.
That's the answer to what I done.
From what I read and from what everything interviews say and stuff, Ralph Lauren, huge movie fan, and he based his kind of Ralph Lauren world off of old, lavish movies from the 50s, 40s, 30s, where everything was perfect. There was a beautiful party. Everybody was so beautiful. Their clothes didn't wrinkle. No one drank too much. There was no issues. Everybody had the perfect line.
But I've been having such a good time. Everybody should have a good time.
That was Ralph Lauren's version, or I guess that is the version of the American dream. If you dream it, you will become it. And Ralph Lauren was doing that in one of the most optimistic times in America, where a lot of people were like, yeah, you're right, I can do that.
America's about dreams. It's about an accumulation of the world, seeing the world.
You might not agree with it, but he's essentially saying the identity of every American is anybody in the world, because this is where you come to reinvent yourself. So whatever you want to be, you be. And that's why it's so hard to talk about Ralph Lauren quality specifically, because what is Ralph Lauren besides everything? Ralph Lauren is Barber, Levi's, LL Bean, Brooks Brothers, any other brand you could think of. Ralph Lauren has their version of it. And sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not, but he's putting his little spin on it and reinventing it. And this is actually where I tried one of my 2 experiments. The whole costume thing happens to me basically every time I put on clothes. Like, I really want to wear Oxford cloth button-downs. Very simple. But every time I put them on, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like a character. I don't feel real. Like, this isn't me. I don't wear this. So I don't. And you could see it on the first half of the B-roll. I'm very uncomfortable in all those shots. I'm like, maybe this outfit's stupid. People are going to make fun of me. I don't know. I don't know how to put this on. Let me just stand here. And then I changed something. But first, I was called a rich kid about 1 billion times in a dry cleaner. My friend Chris is getting married, and he invited me to his wedding. So I had to get my suit dry cleaned, and I was wearing a hoodie and jeans. And I thought, you know what? I'm doing the Ralph Lauren video. Let me put on an Oxford cloth button down and go out. And I did. And the second I walked in, which by the way, if you live in Portland, Maine, you definitely know the dry cleaner that I'm talking about. The second I walked in, he went, oh, rich kid, rich kid, rich kid. And I was like, is he talking about me? Rich kid doesn't even want to unzip the bag. Rich kid doesn't even want to show me his fancy suit. He doesn't want to mess up his perfect fingernails. And at that moment, I was like, is this really just because 5 minutes ago I took off a hoodie and put on an Oxford cloth button down and this guy completely judged me off of one thing? And yes, that's exactly what's happening, and that is exactly what everybody does on the entire planet. Even the nicest person in the world gives you an up and down and decides what they think about you and who they are. And you, yourself, even though you're judging people, or you are that person, you're thinking, nobody actually knows who I am. This is just the shirt I put on. And Ralph Lauren knew how to weaponize that. When the dry cleaning guy said that, it got right, you know when someone can poke right to the center of you and push your buttons? He did that to me. And I was like, oh, that's not even close you don't know anything about me, but I also want to crawl out of this Oxford cloth button down and burn it. Ralph Lauren, on the other hand, would say, 1, Michael, who cares? Where does that end? If that guy is going to dictate your life and that's how you're going to think, maybe you shouldn't wear jeans because those are for gold miners. And that guy was wearing gym shorts, but he's not a gym teacher, so why is he wearing that? He's also not a personal trainer. Also, he has a fish on his shirt. He's not a fish. He can't wear that either. But also, and this is where the B-roll is going to start to shift, if I did a good job, Ralph Lauren was like, you can use that. If you just put on a shirt and all of a sudden this guy thinks you're rich, put on a big nice suit and people are gonna think you're a Wall Street banker. Use that psychology thing and be whoever you wanna be. It's actually very easy. So I was like, you know what? Let me just fully buy into Ralph Lauren and not be awkward. Just pretend that I belong in the clothing that I'm wearing. That was the second phase of what I did. And immediately I started to like my outfits a lot better and I felt more comfortable in them. There should be a really big difference in standing like this for B-roll and feeling awkward and doing little dances versus trying to actually pose and feeling like you belong in the clothes and just like there's no big deal. You should see two different things, but there's also a step further. Oh geez, we're running very, very low on light, but I wanted a sport coat forever, but I always felt super uncomfortable wearing it. And that is where Ralph Lauren comes in, because there's a big stretch to do what Ralph Lauren himself is doing, which is referencing movies and saying like, yeah, I'm going to be a cowboy that I saw from a movie, or I'm gonna be Cary Grant. Instead, Ralph Lauren is saying, I'll do that. You can just copy me. You don't have to pretend. I'm not a movie character. I'm a real dude. I have a really cool life, and like, you saw me on the catalog, just buy what I'm selling and wear it how I'm wearing it. And if you're a guy in the US, what you're probably most comfortable wearing is a pair of jeans, a chambray shirt, maybe at the most. So Ralph Lauren combines English tailoring with jeans, and all of a sudden, doesn't feel like that much of a stretch to put it on, and you feel pretty cool because you're doing what the coolest guy in the world did. Have you always wanted to wear a cool leather jacket that you saw in a picture of a World War II fighter pilot or something? No problem, we have that too. But if you get a new one, you're gonna look like you're trying too hard, so let us break it in for you and have it look really worn in, and then I'll show you how to wear it. But since it's worn in, and since our jeans are worn in, and everything else we sell you, it looks fine, it looks natural, and it works really, really well. And to sum all of that up, what it really looks like is that you're not trying. And that was my experiment for this entire video. Ralph Lauren, who I truly think he is the first ever American male fashion influencer, and every male fashion influencer ever has tried to copy the same thing, and that is to look like you're not trying, no matter what you do. Because the most important thing of any outfit, of any cool outfit, is to look like you didn't even think about putting it on. But anybody that's taking a picture of their outfit thought about their outfit for a very, very long time. So the experiment that I tried to do throughout the video at varying points of success was to look like I'm really not trying. My shirt's unbuttoned. I'm relaxing. Most of the poses I tried to set up specifically to look cool, but look like I'm not specifically trying to sit that way. And I'm going to pretend it's too warm, so I have to take off my jacket. It's much hotter than I thought today. A bit warm outside, isn't it? I have no idea how successful it was, but still, 60, 70 years later, people still hold Paul Newman, James Dean, Steve McQueen, Marlon Brando to be like the pinnacle of cool. They didn't try at all.
Is there any part of the world you can now go where you're not recognized or known?
It's difficult. It's one of the things that I don't really care very much about.
Except they're actors. Every single shot that you're seeing of them, even the ones where it looks like you didn't see it of them or they didn't know the camera was there, they are posing for that. And Ralph Lauren was really the first ever non-actor to take that concept and make it their entire brand. And it sells a lot of things because he looks very, very cool and he just looks natural, and everybody wants that. And they think it's the shirt, not everything that goes into posing that shirt. So for the final stage in the B-roll, phase 3, I did a full Ralph Lauren and I pretended. I said, okay, this guy is Ryan Gosling seconds before he's told he has to save the world. This guy is a guy that just found out the stock market exploded while he was on his lunch break. This guy is coming to pick up the girl that he loves, but he doesn't know he loves her yet. I was going full into character and thinking, what would they wear? What would they do? How would they act? How would they walk? And that, my friends, is the first time I literally ever, wore this tie. that I thrifted in college at Savers many years ago, and I always wanted to wear it. And I never felt right, and I was like, when would I put this on? I was pretending to be an architect that woke up late for a meeting, and he was really cool. He was a natural. He just looked at something and knew how to architect it. And I was like, you know what? Why am I not wearing a tie? Because he would be wearing a tie, and it would be rushed. And as I ran to get the tie, I was like, I just can't believe I thought that. And even one step further, as I grabbed the tie, I was like, man, I really wish I had a red version of this wool tie because the character would wear that. That would be a little bit more poppy. And that is the first time I have ever thought about fashion like that in my life. I knew exactly what I should wear and why, because it's what that guy would wear, and I just pretended. And that is what I thought Ralph Lauren did. And then Taylor said, wait, why pretend? Why imagine? What is that? It doesn't always have to be a character.
I wish I was Cary Grant.
And so did you,
Yes.
in your head.
Yeah.
And part of your life has been about becoming Cary Grant.
No, I never wanted to be anyone but myself. Everything I do is because they're made for me. I want to wear it. I want to be that. And it's not trying to be somebody else. It's me. People sort of sense, well, you're living, you're driving that thing or you're wearing that suit. Who do you think you are, You grew up in the Bronx. What is this?
Taylor's one of the most fashionable people I know, and she was like, I mean, you don't have to say it's a costume or pretending or you're playing a character. It's just clothing. That's just your vibe for the day. You just felt like putting that on. And I was like, Taylor, that's actually very Ralph of you. That's very profound. That's the point of this video. In a very cruel twist of fate, I also am a dry cleaner man in my own way, albeit I think a little bit nicer, but still. I was putting everything in a box and saying, I can't wear this, or you can't wear that, or we can't do this. Ralph Lauren's in a costume. When in reality, I don't know. Did he pretend anything? When he was a kid, was he imagining that he was going to be a billionaire and dominate the world of clothing? Or did he just do it? I don't know. I have no idea where it began, where it ended, where the thoughts stopped and the instincts took over, but that's what Ralph Lauren has been saying for 70 years. It doesn't matter.